Hi, this is Kara Mayer Robinson. Welcome to Really Famous, where I talk to famous people and cut through the fluff to get to what they really think and how they really feel. My guest this week is Miriam Shor. Miriam is a talented and very funny actor who's now on the show Younger. It's a comedy on TV Land by Darren Star, who is also the creator of some other really good TV shows, including Sex and the City, Beverly Hills 90210, and Melrose Place. The premise of the show is a 40-something-year-old woman took some time off from working in the publishing world to raise her daughter, but when her daughter goes off to college, she's ready to get back in, but has a hard time getting hired, so she pretends she's in her 20s. The woman is played by Sutton Foster, and my guest Miriam Shor plays Diana Trout, a confident and unapologetic, yet very insecure publishing executive. The show also stars Hilary Duff and Debbie Mazar. If you want to hear more about Younger after this podcast, in fact, go back to Really Famous Podcast number 3 and listen into my chat with Debbie. Miriam has been on a ton of other things too, like Elementary, Jessica Jones, The Good Wife, Damages, Mildred Pierce. But on this show, she is such a standout. Darren Star says that she steals scenes, and I agree. Hilary Duff has said that she's the funniest one on the set, and I think after you listen to our conversation, you'll probably agree with that too. We talk about a lot of stuff, and she does joke around a lot, so enjoy. We hit lots of topics from her marriage to raising 2 daughters to how our country treats mothers versus fathers. We break down the nitty-gritty details on what makes a really good television series, and we talk about her favorites, my favorites, and the shows that we really just aren't that into. She talks about happiness, cynicism, standing up for people who are being picked on, being Jewish, learning how to drive in New York City and, well, not quite getting the hang of it, and why she felt like a failure until she made it onto Law & Order. Well, sort of. Before we get started, I want to hear from you. I'd love to know what you're thinking about the podcast. Do you have questions? Do you have suggestions? Do you want to know who the next guest is going to be? Whatever your questions or comments, I welcome them. I'd love to hear from you. All you have to do is jump on to reallyfamouspodcast.com. You can sign up for exclusive access to insider info, or you can just simply send an email. But really, reach out. I want to hear from you. Big shout out to the Renaissance New York Midtown Hotel, where we recorded this episode. We sat down in the super luxurious Empire Suite on the top floor with views of Madison Square Garden, the Statue of Liberty, the Hudson River. Really, it's quite a nice place to record a podcast. Miriam liked it too, and we both agreed we could get pretty comfy here, long term.
What is this? Is this an actual
this
suite?
is a
Is there
suite.
a bed over there?
There is a bed over there.
Damn,
and
you
a
get to keep
view.
it all night.
In my dreams, I would live here. Forget all night.
Exactly.
This is like, I could be one of those people who lives in a hotel
Yeah, why
permanently.
not? Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And I would just unpack my suitcase in the drawers, and
fine.
that would be it for me.
Yeah, you have 3 children. You deserve it.
Well, I have to tell you, I just got back from Costa Rica with 3 children.
And how was that?
So we used to have great travel experiences. We would take them everywhere,
Yeah.
like Europe often.
I just got back from Greece.
How was that?
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Because they're great ages, right? How old
There's still moments when you're like, wow, you know what would help this vacation is if there were no children here. I love you, please stop driving me crazy. Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and
No, I
tell you.
want to know.
So for years we were great with the vacations, and it was like the best thing ever, and we kept going and going and going. And then I think it was about 2 years ago, we went all over to France, to Italy, and I remember sitting at a restaurant in Mallorca saying to the kids, I hope you're having a good time, because this is our last family vacation ever. And I meant it. So it took me 2 years to recover and say, okay, we'll do another big one this year.
Why?
And guess what I told my husband this year? I said,
jackasses?
no, it's done. Like, they each have their own personality. And you can't please everyone at once.
No.
And you can't motivate everyone to be excited at once. And it's a big group of people to have to, like, schlep around everywhere. But anyway, enough about me.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just fascinated because we love traveling, and we're really starting to travel now. And I'm like, I traveled my whole life, and as a kid, I lived in Italy when I was a kid. So like, I'm like, this is what we're doing now.
I think it's great for the kids.
It's important. If you can, look, it's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
So if you can afford it, do it. But my parents had no money and they still did it.
I did read something about you grew up in Italy sort of for a few years.
Yes, no, for half my life. I mean, when I was about 1, we were living in Minnesota, that's where I was born, and my dad got a full break to teach in Venice, Italy. And they were like 27, I think. They had 2 kids, they'd never been there. And they were like, yeah, let's go. Let's bring our 2 children and let's go. And this was the 70s, because I'm old. And so it was, and like they wrote a letter saying, yeah, we're going to stay in this pensione and here we come. And they got there and the guys were like, we don't have you here. Yeah, so like.
That is exactly how travel goes.
Yes.
It would have to be like that.
But so we lived there for a couple of years. And then we moved to Detroit because he got a tenure track teaching position at Wayne State University. And then they divorced a couple of years later, and my mom was like, she had just fallen in love with Italy, and she was like, I want to live there, and so I'm going to live there. And they had joint custody, so we would spend 1 year with her in Italy, my sister and I, and 1 year with my dad in Detroit, and go back and forth until I graduated from high school.
That is really cool. That is such a cool upbringing.
It is really.
I don't mean to I'm sure it was hard too.
You know what? It was. You're so adaptable when you're a kid, and my parents, they were wonderful. They were wonderful with each other and with us. It wasn't acrimonious. So like, we were loved, we were supported, and we got to live in Europe. It was the greatest.
And whoever you were with, there wasn't any like tension or whatever else either.
No, and I'm sure there's issues that have come up for me because of it. But I don't feel damaged from it. I feel like I was gifted something.
What are the issues that you think may be there?
Maybe like I would leave. I'd have to leave every year. So this idea that like I have to prepare myself to say goodbye. So like going into a relationship, knowing you're going to say goodbye you have some armor there.
Yeah.
But I think kids of divorce have that anyway. Once your parents divorce, you're like, oh, I see what can happen, so let me put on some armor. But yeah, I didn't really have like a serious relationship until I was 32 with my husband.
And he was your first one?
I mean, I had relationships, but
the first one that you really...
Yeah, every other relationship I ever had, I was always like, yeah, this is going to end.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, of course,
but also,
that's what...
I loved my life, and so I was like, I don't need a serious relationship. I love what I'm doing. I don't need it, like... And then I met him, and the angels sang, and the bells rang, and it was... magical.
And immediately you softened and were like, I'm never going to say goodbye.
But I definitely knew there was something different about him.
What was it?
I don't know. It was just this moment. Actually, we met singing karaoke one night, and he was dating someone else, and and that was just a moment. And then a year later, we met doing something else, and he was no longer attached. And I saw him. I remember like from across a room. We were in Cape Cod on someone's porch, and I remember just being like, oh no. Something is happening. It's weird. It's like a magical moment.
Yeah, so that you knew in your bones.
I just knew something. I was like, I'm in trouble.
No, you didn't feel that the first time though, but you do remember something.
No, although he had a full beard and kind of looked like a leprechaun. It was dark, so could have been like...
Wait, a leprechaun? So he has red hair?
No, but his beard came in red. It doesn't anymore. It comes a little gray. But
interesting.
Yeah.
So dark hair or blonde?
Yeah, like light brown
and a red beard.
Right? It's so cute.
So how do you not notice? So you knew, like a bolt of lightning sort of. You're
it's
like
weird.
something crazy.
That's never happened to me before. But some chemical thing happened, and I was like, oh boy. So he's very cute, so there's that chemical thing happened too.
Were your chemicals right? Like, did they know?
It was a thing. We were like, you.
So what was it? What is your relationship like now? Like, describe it.
Let's see. So the thing, I think we flirted outrageously that whole week with each other. We were doing a workshop of a play in Cape Cod, which is sort of already romantic, right? But we just tried to make each other laugh a lot and try to it was like we were always playing with each other and acting and creating sketches, just like being complete dorks. And we do that all the time still, like just by ourselves, just in the living room. Like,
that's your dynamic.
We just try to make each other laugh all the time.
Not a bad way to be.
It's great, and yeah, I think we just balance each other really well.
So how did he handle your sort of sense of, we're going to have to say goodbye at some point, this relationship's going to end?
It was really more how I had to handle it, because we actually did break up early on in our relationship. and we stayed friends, which it was a weird moment where I could sense, like, in a normal situation, I'd be like, yeah, okay, bye, see ya. But I was like, no, I'm gonna hang around. He's working something, he broke up, he's like, I need to work something out, but I really care about you, so I gotta work this out before we can have a serious relationship. Which I was like, I kind of respect that. That's very mature.
Yeah.
I want to stick around and see what goes on.
So how was that time for you, though, while you were waiting?
It was weird. It was a really funny moment when if you're a New Yorker, you know that someone really cares about you if they say they're going to come pick you up at the airport. That's
huge.
love. That's like, well, I think we might be engaged now.
Right.
This is it. This is forever now. You're coming to pick me up at the airport. Other people in other cities don't get it. You know,
because you just
I'll pick you up at the airport. But New York, if you come pick someone up at the airport, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
So I came back from a trip, and he was like, I want to pick you up at the airport. And I was like, whoa. And then he's like, hey, why don't you come over? Because we were still friends, right? And come over. And then he sang me a song that was like, I want to be in love, and my heart needs a home. And I'm just, the whole time I'm looking at him like, so are we back together? Do you want to solidify this? And
so that's interesting.
Gangbusters ever since.
Gangbusters.
I mean, then we've been together ever since.
Did having kids change things?
Yeah, but what's weird is I was kind of terrified to have kids and a little like ambivalent. Just it's a huge thing, and I loved our life, and I knew I kind of wanted kids, but I'd never envisioned it with another person because I'd never been with someone I wanted to have kids with.
So what did you picture yourself being, a single mom?
Yeah, here's what I pictured. I pictured I would be like 50 in Nepal, backpacking over mountains with like a child of some other, ethnic origin on my back. And that was going to be my life. Yeah. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And then I met him, and I was like, oh, I want to have children with that particular person. That person is an amazing dad and will be. But it took me a long time. I was 38 when I had my first kid, because it was like, it's a tough decision.
It is. So that was all just decision-making time? Or like whole sort of putting it off until you were sure?
I don't think you're ever sure. I don't know, but there are people who are sure. But I was like, I'm never going to be sure. I'm terrified. So, but ultimately I was like, no, I want to go on journeys with him. I want to do things with him. We have a great time, and that's what I want to do with him. And he was sure.
He wanted them, right?
Well, he was just like, we can do this, and I was like, okay. Because, the woman has the child. The woman has the baby. I don't think that's a mystery for anyone. Everybody knows that. It's a big endeavor, and it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not without challenges. You have kids.
I do.
Yeah.
And I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hearing myself in you too. Yeah. I'm hearing my own story too.
Yeah.
Like my husband was Shor as well. Like, oh, we got this. And I was like, what do you mean we got this? Like, this is crazy.
Also, becoming a mother and taking that on physically and taking it on emotionally, it's a huge thing for any person. But for a woman, it is, the way the world defines you as a mother, it really changes how the world looks at you. I don't think the world looks at men differently when they become fathers. It definitely looks at women differently when they become mothers, and that is I think something that is daunting for a lot of women,
How do you think the world looks? What's the difference after a woman becomes a mother?
I think, I don't know that we respect mothers a lot in this country, I think it's pretty clear with how little support we give to them, that we don't have a lot of respect for mothers, and we don't, the incredible amount of work that goes into it, even for parents, for men too, but just for parents, I just don't think we value it in the same way we value some dude who works in a hedge fund, you know what I mean? And that's absurd, but true. Mm-hmm. So, I more and more, you're like, wow, why are we are continuing the species, God damn it. Like, how are you not looking at us and bowing down?
It's true, though, and it's the same thing in some other cultures. It's different, and you can see it makes much more sense that we would be bowing down, and especially because for so many people, not everybody, but for so many, the woman really does end up doing so much or like giving so much that it's like, it's incredible. That why wouldn't we bow down to her?
Well, look, I don't need to be bowed. Right? It'd be nice.
Yeah, but you know.
Nice. But respected.
Right, but I was going to say, when you said that like the world sort of looks at women differently after they become mothers, and you said not really men, but almost, you look at a man in a better light once he's a father.
Yeah, it's an addition. It's like the world looks at it as an addition to him and a bit of a subtraction for women. And I find that fascinating because I don't see why that would be, you know?
Why is that, do you think?
I don't know. I think because it's our own mommy issues we have that we just project onto other people.
I don't know.
You know?
It is like a societal thing, though. It's like maybe a tough thing to break out of.
It is, but more and more I think you see women giving that the finger and just being like, fuck you. I'm gonna live my life and be the mother I want to be, and I don't care about your judgment. And I'm gonna continue on in the way. You know,
I think so.
You see that mold breaking a lot, you know. It's not that long ago that it was like, well, and now you need to stay home and do nothing except raise your children.
Right.
And it was like, and that's an amazing choice because please believe me, when I go to work, it's much easier than staying at home and taking care of the children. So that is a job. So it's a wonderful job that women have the option, if they have the option to do, and that's great. It's this idea that like you don't get to choose, or that, you know, there's some way you have to be. There's so much judgment put on women when they become mothers. I don't know that judgment is put on men when they become fathers. You know, but that said, I couldn't do this without my husband.
Yeah.
Because he's, you know, he's the father. I need him. He's my partner. I can't, you know, I wouldn't want to do this without him.
So you have 2 girls.
I have 2 girls.
And they are?
Ruby and Iris, 4 and almost 8.
How's that going?
It's good, but they are some spirited, sassafras little ladies.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, they're spirited and loud. I don't know where they get that.
And they both
How did that happen? Yes, in different ways. But yeah, you realize you learn so much about like your own strengths and shortcomings through your kids, you know.
So what have you learned specifically?
I've learned that I'm incredibly patient in areas where I didn't think I would be, and the exact opposite in other areas.
Okay, so what are you super patient in, and what are you impatient?
There's moments. Well, it's moments. There'll just be a moment where I'm like, wow, I'm really handling this amazingly. Look at me. Check me out. I'm just so patient. I'm talking like this, and I can let this go. And then the next day could be the same situation, and I will be a lunatic and just start swearing, and I have to like run out of the room because I'm swearing up a storm, trying to like not corrupt my children, being like, "Mommy needs a timeout," you know. But that's parenting,
right?
You know? And luckily, that's when you have, you know, hopefully you're lucky enough to have another person to swoop in and be like, I got this. You know, it's like professional wrestling. Like one of the wrestlers jumps into the ring, the other one jumps out to like deal with their bloody nose or dislocated shoulder.
Sure. Is that what they do? Are there more than? Is there one person that has that?
I don't know. Sometimes there's like team wrestling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. No, it's true. It does help because when you're really like not handling it and somebody else can. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when the other person isn't handling it, you suddenly feel like you can
so
more
magnanimous,
than ever, right?
That's the best when you swoop in and you're like, listen, but there are definitely times when you're like, listen, I've totally got this. And you last about 3 seconds, you're like, no, I don't have it. I'm sinking. Somebody save us. And you can't. You both go down. And those are fun times. And that's what it's like to travel with children.
Right. So what's the secret to traveling with kids?
Television. No. Listen, a TV on an airplane has saved, I think, entire families a lot of drama.
Yeah, but now the airplanes aren't always. Now you almost never know what you're going to get when you go on the plane. This is what I've been finding lately.
You could get an airplane from the 40s.
Right. Sometimes there's a screen on the back, and sometimes they, I was flying United last week, and they do it on your phone or your device.
So
like
you have to download
the app.
You on the head with the phone or the device.
That
was going to be like, that's why you got to be careful with some airlines.
Right. That would definitely make sense.
Yeah.
In this case, I was only talking about the entertainment through the device.
But they gave you a device to like...
No, you have to bring your own device and you have to download the app before you even get on the plane. And if you haven't downloaded the app, then you may not be able to download it. So they have the entertainment streaming to your app through that, to your device through that United app.
That sounds like some cheap-ass bullshit to me. I don't know about this United.
And
first you bludgeon people, and then you make us bring our own app.
And also, then you need your chargers, right? So if they don't have a charger under the seat, but if they don't have a charger under the seat, then what?
You're screwed.
Yeah. But anyway, TV
I do go
good.
back. I go back to thinking about my parents. So my parents, moved with us to Italy when I was little, and we would take like 16 planes. They didn't have any money. So we'd somehow get from the United States to Italy, and it would be like a 98-hour flight, because we'd take 6 planes, we go through Iceland, and fly to like Shanghai, and then come back and turn around, and then take a train. It's like, I don't know how they did it.
Right. And then never mind that the ride from the airport in Venice.
I'm going to say they were in their 20s, so they had a level of energy that I don't have anymore.
That's possible.
I like to think I have wisdom now. I like to think it. It's not true, but I like to think it. Yeah, I don't know. It's a challenge, but it's like any challenge. It's worth doing so far.
But sometimes in those moments, you just know this is
And you know
good.
what? I got to be honest. My girls, they can present challenges. That's a nice way to say it. But they've been great traveling so far.
That's great.
You know, they really have.
And
so,
hopefully, since they already are now, that'll just be ingrained in them.
Well, yeah, and I have these mantras where I'll be like, girls, what is traveling? And they'll be like, traveling is waiting. Because it is, because you just wait, and then you go, and you wait. You don't get to where you're getting for a really long time when you go somewhere, you know?
That's
especially
true.
Nowadays.
Flexibility, I always say, when we travel, we're flexible.
But my mom used to say, we'd be in line, because we traveled a lot with her. We'd be in line to get our tickets or whatever, and she'd be like, girls, if anything goes wrong, I'll give you the cue, and you just start crying. My sister and I look at each other like, what is she talking about? I don't know what world of espionage she's in, but we're not going to start crying if you give us, what sign are you going to give us? We're going to start crying, Mom. I did use that in my adult life once when I was late for a flight. They were like, "What? I'm sorry, ma'am. I think the plane's leaving." And I was like, "Shit, what should I do?" Burst into tears. I was like, "Mom, it worked."
So tell me about your mom. What was she like?
She's great.
She's
fantastic.
She lives in Italy still?
No, she finally moved back to the United States after I think 35 years. She lived in Italy for many years. I want to say 17. It might have been longer. Then she moved to. She was a teacher, and then she became the head of international school. And then she moved to Amsterdam, and then she moved to London, and then she moved to Berlin, and then she moved to Kingston, Jamaica.
That's unique.
And now she lives in North Carolina.
So she likes to relocate and sort of adapt to different places.
Yeah, she finally retired, but I mean, she's amazing. You know, to me, she taught me something really important, which is that if you are not happy in your life and what you're doing, you can change it. That's a huge thing, I think. A lot of people don't feel that way. And I watched her do it and be successful at it and still be like a caring, loving mother. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and so she did it through example.
Yeah.
So how did you employ that lesson? Which decisions did you make decisions?
Well, I became an actor. And not, that's a really scary thing to do. Because you're basically jumping into this idea that like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And I have to be okay kind of moving from one project to the other. But I did move a lot in my life, so maybe it kind of prepared me for that too.
Yeah.
And I look at everything as like an adventure as opposed to like a loss.
So okay, I did read that you were a theater major and a literature major.
English, Lit, and theater. Very useful undergraduate degrees.
So, from University of Michigan.
University of Michigan.
Which is an excellent school.
It is a great school. I love University of Michigan. I had the greatest time. I'm so glad. I didn't want to go there because it was in-state. I wanted to go away. I wanted to go somewhere different. But I got a scholarship there, and that's where I could go. And not for theater, by the way. I didn't get into theater anywhere, and I tried.
But you did want to always, and you wanted to be an actor?
I did want to try the acting thing. I saw my sister in Hello, Dolly when I was in 7th grade, and it changed my life.
What did you see?
She was in Hello, Dolly in the High School Musical, and she was Irene Malloy, and she just stepped forward for her solo, and I was just mesmerized. She was obviously terrific, and I just didn't know you could do that, And then I saw her do it, and I thought, that's possible. I can do that.
So you started acting in plays, like school plays?
High school plays, and but you don't know you can do it as a living. I didn't know that was possible, but I knew there were programs in universities for training, and I didn't get into any of them.
So you did try.
I tried, didn't get anywhere.
I love these stories of these successful people
and
who were rejected from the thing that they were so good at.
Rejected twice from the University of Michigan Musical Theater Department, and then I had a guys there, guidance counselor there, sit me down and be like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do this. It doesn't seem like anyone wants you to, so.
Seriously?
Yeah, and I was like,
this is a story. This is what successful people have heard. It's crazy. So, this is not an unusual story.
Yeah, well, I think it's that if you are told no, 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 and you still do it, you learn something about the fact that you can keep doing it. It's resilience.
Thicker skin.
And it kind of prepared me to be told no all the time,
which is something you have to.
All
Still
the
to
time.
this day, there's
oh
lots
my God,
of no's.
so
right?
much no. Yeah.
Like how many no's to a yes? How many no's?
I'm going to say like 99 out of 100. And that's if you're lucky.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm sure there are times though when like little dips where you're like, oh, I just can't another.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're like, this is it. Why am I doing this to myself? But I feel like we live in an age right now where everyone is uncertain in what they do. There's no more like, I've found my career and here I go and it's going to be like this for the rest of my life.
Right. I'm working for this company for the next 50
not,
years.
yeah.
And I'm getting the watch at the
We're
end
all
of it all.
gigging it. We're all just trying to get the next gig.
Yeah, because this is like a gig, we're in like a gig
economy,
society.
right? Yes, that's what we are.
And it's true for like so many different people.
Yeah.
So it did teach you that, but then, so at one point though, did you feel like you wanted to do or like you should do something different, and then your mom kind of popped into your brain a little bit saying, no, you can do...
Well, you know, my mom and my dad were always, my dad too, were always very supportive, always. They basically were like, you can do anything you put your mind to, which is total bullshit because I can't play tennis for shit, and it doesn't matter how much I put my mind to it, so I'm not going to be good at it. So it's the thing, I'm like, oh, I'm not good at that. Guys, you were wrong. I'm not good at everything. But thanks for the vote of confidence. But I just feel like they were like, work hard, try, you know? And they were adventurous people, and they, you know, were so supportive and loving. I just always feel loved and supported, so.
And your dad, what's he like?
He's also in education, he's a professor, so, you know, that is an important thing, and is hilarious and goofy, and I feel like he really taught me that goofiness is next to godliness, you know, that being funny is valuable. And he's always been a fighter for justice and for causes, and that he still is, and that's an important thing in my life now too, you know.
What are some of your causes?
What are some of my causes? Gee, there's not a lot right now to resist, is there? Look, the world is really messed up right now, and our country is at a place that I've never seen before. I'm sure history has seen it, and history moves forward whether you want it to or not, but it feels like, as a woman in this country right now, it feels tenuous. You know, you watch Handmaid's Tale and you're like, that doesn't feel like fiction a little bit, you know, and just it feels like there's a lot of people in this country who are being thrown under the bus, and undeservedly. So I feel like you have to stand up for that. I've always have. My parents have always been really political and political activists, and I'm proud of that. You know, I've been going to protests since I was in utero, as far as I can tell. You know, and I've always been taught that my voice matters, and so I should say something. And, you know, I guess that's why my children are so loud. Well, and if you believe everyone has a voice, there's obviously people who are silenced, and you need to speak out for them.
Sure.
That's also the thing that, you know, I feel like I was taught, which is that you need to stand up for people who can, you know. If you come from a place of privilege, which I do, you know, I'm lucky, then you have to stand up for people who don't, as opposed to beat them down and say they're criminals. So, you know, I like I feel like it's important to do that. But, you know, in my personal life, having people who believe in you, really, and focus on you, wanting you to be happy, it helps you be happy, I think. I hope. I'm trying to take that lesson for my kids, because, you know, my mom would always say, I just want you to be happy. And you're like, ugh, Mom, it's such a mom thing to say.
Right.
And now that I'm a mom, I'm like, no, I just really want them to be happy.
Right. But, you know, also happiness isn't everything. This is something that I read about sort of recently, that like so many people are striving for happiness that it's almost making everybody unhappy, because if they don't achieve that level of happiness, they feel like they should be in a different place, like wherever they are now is not right. But there are other things to feel good about, like a sense of accomplishment,
right,
doing good, like having family around, also, connections.
I think that happiness isn't, I don't know, but I read some philosopher said that happiness isn't like something you get, it's like a talent. It's something you do, you know, it's something you are part of. So as opposed to like just waiting for happiness to come to you from getting this thing, and that's how you'll be happy, it's more about how you go through life.
So it's you, right, you create it internally,
yeah, and
use it almost as a, like the lens that you're looking through.
Yeah, I mean, you can see there's people like that who are just sort of joyous people.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm not cynical, because I am incredibly cynical, so there are times when I'm like, how does that work? Oh, you seem so happy. What's wrong with you? You know. I'm also Jewish, so there's that. There's always like, I don't know if I trust that guy. He's smiling all the time. We are able to, Jewish people are sort of able to like relish in misery and make jokes of it, Wow, I just talked about all Jewish people. That's true, but it is a thing,
Yes, it's a thing. It's a cultural thing.
It is a cultural thing, and I always like to say I'm Jewish, but I'm like Jewish,
That could be a show.
What, Jewish?
Yeah, like Blackish.
Well, Blackish. Very different, yeah.
It really could be.
That's how many protests would be against that.
You would have to show the entire cast and crew.
I know.
Would have to be Jewish.
Would have to be Jewish, or Jewish. But I find that everyone in New York gets a Jewish card. There's certain things that you're like, if you understand that neuroses, you understand.
So you talk a lot about being a New Yorker, and yet you were so out of New York for a long time. But identify.
I 100% identify. I've been here now for 23 years. It's the longest I've lived in one place in my life, and I chose it. And I've always been in love with New York. I always wanted to live in New York. And the minute I moved here, I knew it was my home. It was the minute I just knew I was home. And I was in love. It's like my lover. Like when I would leave it, when I would come back, I would be so excited to be home, And the other day I was schlepping home from the grocery store with like my backpack full of groceries, carrying bags of groceries. And my friend was from out of town was like, "How do you get home from the grocery store?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm like a camel with the packs and the things and the, and I was walking home with all my groceries and, and I'm like, I fucking love this city. I just love it. I still love it. It is like my lover. And then I go to LA and I think I can have a tryst with that person. And then I'm like, wow, they literally have no brains in their head. Let's go back to New York City. No offense, LA. Tons taken. That's the whole, yeah. It's just, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, so they're so different, such different animals, New York and LA. And I think that your inside somehow it's one or the other. But I do hear a lot of people saying they like to split their time.
I have a great time when I'm out there. But in terms of I feel unmoored. I feel ungrounded there. And here I'm literally walking around, grounded. Yeah. Literally there, your feet are not on the ground because they're in a car all the time.
In traffic.
I'm also a shitty driver, so that could be why.
That's not good. So what car should we always look out for?
God, any car I'm driving, it's not a good idea. not a talent I have. Okay. I didn't have a driver's license. I had one, and then I went to college. I didn't have a car. I let it lapse. I came to New York. I never drove. And then I got a job in LA, my first TV show, and I had to move out to LA to do it for like a year. I had to get my driver's license again. And this is true. I went to, is it Modell's? Down on
the sports
No, not place? Modell's. Moe's driving school. Is that what it was? I think it's gone now. It was on 14th Street. This is 100 years ago. And I went and took like an 8-hour class that was like, buckle your seatbelt. I was like, yes, I understand 8 hours of that. And then you got your driving lesson, and they were like, go outside, sit in the tan car. It had 2 steering wheels, one on the passenger seat, and your instructor will come. And this is a fully true story. And this homeless guy came up to the window while I was sitting in the car. He didn't have any teeth, and he was really, really drunk. And he was like, hey, you ever driven before? And I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, but I forgot. I don't know why I was having a conversation with him. I was like nervous. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I used to drive, but it's been 10 years and I don't remember. And he's like, okay, well, move over. It was the instructor. 100% the actual instructor. Wasted, lacking in teeth, was my driving instructor. And I was like, you know what? I will drive. I will absolutely drive right now. You get in the passenger seat. We got this. That was how I learned to drive.
And you did. So did he give you any pointers along the way?
I think the main pointer for me was like good dental care and don't drink and drive. Those 2 things, which are, I think it'll take you all the way through life. Those 2 lessons.
However, you said that you're not a great driver, so maybe you could have used one of the other lessons.
I'm too aware that we are hurtling through space in a death vehicle. You shouldn't really be aware of that. You should know that in the back of your mind.
Right,
in the forefront.
Your frontal lobe has got that.
I am a much better driver in Los Angeles because I'm more familiar with it because I had to drive there, and then in New York I'm kind of like, I mean, I don't really drive in New York.
It's a little different driving in New York than it is anywhere else.
People are pretty aware in New York. They're ready. They're ready for people to jump out in front of them at any moment.
Yeah, I think there's nowhere better than Italy though to drive.
Oh yeah. No,
it's just fun.
They're crazy. I remember people would literally stop in the middle of the street and get out of their car and be like, okay, I'm just going to buy this thing out of this store. And you're like, you're in the middle of the street.
Yeah, and yet there's no crash or anything. Somehow it all works out.
Cars are real small.
They're real small, and there are rules. Like, if you're not going super fast, you better not be in that left lane.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it. And everybody seems to get the rules there.
Yeah.
I love it. So being in New York and being an actor, it's pretty good that you can do both.
Oh my God.
Right?
It's everything. This job that I'm doing Younger and filming in New York, that was my dream. I wanted to be able to film and work in New York.
But did you think that was even a possibility back whenever?
No, I didn't think it was a possibility that anyone would give me money to be an actor. So, and suckers, they do. But yeah, no, I always had to go out to LA to do any show that I did, and then I would kill it in less than 13 episodes, and I would come back home. And that was okay. I mean, I was very lucky.
So this is when you were what? When you were single, like that you were doing that kind of
Even
thing?
when I had
Married?
my first kid, we went out there to do a show called GCB with Darren Star. That's how I met him. We went out there and we rented a house, and it was really fun, actually. And my husband has a wonderful family who live out in California, who are real people, who are not in the business, who are
so
salt of the earth,
humans.
amazing people. And that is lovely to have, you know. And it was really fun. Just, this is my home. So, and Ruby was 2, I think, at the time. She had a great time. It was an adventure, so I was happy we did it. But in terms of like where I want to be, and now the kids are in school, and I love their school, New York Public School, and it's awesome,
You're happy.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's where I want to be. That said, there are moments when I'm like, I kind of would love to live in a different country. I think it's a really valuable experience, to know that you're like a citizen of the world, not just one place,
Yeah. Well, couldn't you kind of, in your career, be able to sort of split, if you really want to do that, like split your year? Because how long, it's Younger is your main gig now, right?
Yeah.
So how many weeks is that? Not that many? Or?
Yeah, it's like 3.5 months, 4 months, but my husband's also an actor, so he has a career and he has to work too, so we have to balance that, and that's tough.
And you don't always know what that next gig is going to be.
You never know what that next gig's going to be. You live, my family's so annoyed with me, you can't plan anything. I'm always like, I'll be there unless I can't be there. It's a tough way to plan.
Well, you're teaching flexibility again.
Yes, exactly. And I'm flexible. I mean, I can't do the splits, but I'm flexible in other ways.
So your husband has been on, I think, like every New York City show, right? Like all the shows that are filmed here?
He's been on a lot of shows.
Like what? Blue Bloods?
Yeah, I mean, that's the New York actor thing. He's
Yes.
been on every Law and Order that there was, original, extra crispy. That was for the longest time I hadn't been on a Law and Order, and I was like, I think that means I'm a terrible actor.
Wait, but you are.
No,
you
now
have
I
been.
have. Now I have been.
Which
yes.
one?
Oh God, I can't even remember now.
Can't remember.
It was the one with Vincent D'Onofrio back in the day.
Okay, so I feel like that was that
Criminal
other one.
Intent?
Yeah.
Yes. There's been a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, no one rivals Mariska Hargitay. Not just because she's Peter Herman's wife, but she's sort of, to me, the queen. I mean, she's
Law and Order.
She is Law and Order.
Whereas
now.
it probably was Jerry Orbach.
It was Jerry Orbach. I was obsessed with it when it first came out. I would sit and watch reruns on A&E, and this is telling you I'm very glamorous. I would sit, and I lived in a 1-bedroom with 2 other people, and our couch was in the hallway, and the TV was 4 inches from your face, and I would sit and watch reruns of Law and Order back. This is in the 90s, and I would have a graham cracker just as a carrier for my tub of frosting that I would just put on the graham cracker just to get it into my mouth. Because you have to get it in your mouth somehow. You could use a spoon. It just seemed
a better vehicle.
A little bit. Yeah, it did. It added a bit of crunch.
So that was with every Law and Order. You would
and
have
I was
that
obsessed with those, and that was way back. I feel like Michael Moriarty was in it, back in the day.
Going back.
So I was obsessed with it, and it carried on. It's a good freaking show, man.
Yeah. Dun dun.
Yeah, and that it becomes a song in your head sometimes. You just
right.
Something will happen. It'll be like dun dun.
So you weren't on a Law and Order for a while.
For a long time.
You felt a little bit like a failure.
Yeah, every single New York actor gets to be on a Law and Order. But now there's just one left. There's just
I think so, right?
SVU.
Just SVU is the only one that's left. So you did get on one finally, and all is good.
Yeah. But and Justin has been, he's done. We did a play together off Broadway, which was magical.
Magical all the way around?
It was magical all the way around. We just moved in together. It was a show about the ins and outs of relationships and different relationships. It was a show called Almost Maine that our friend wrote. And at the end of the play, we played two characters who realized they were in love. So every night we got to fall in love with each other.
That's cool.
I know. It's disgusting and it's kind of cute, but it's true and I loved it.
So I read something that you've been in a lot of plays.
Yeah.
But you've never been on Broadway.
I've never been on Broadway.
But you said something very interesting about that.
Well, there have been two occasions. I just did a play at the Public in the fall called Sweat, which was Lynn Nottage won a Pulitzer. It's an astonishing play, and it moved to Broadway. And they wanted me to go with it, but I was filming younger, so I couldn't.
Oh, that's tough.
And the other time I was cast in a Broadway show, another TV show that I was already contracted to do, I had to do that instead. So there's been several occasions where I wanted to do a show and
could have
and then couldn't because of a television show, and that's an uptown problem.
It is
like
luxury problems
for me, But no, so then therefore I have not been on Broadway, and I love theater. It had been a long time since I'd done a play. I did Encores with Sutton a couple summers ago, which was great because it's shorter, experience. But it's hard to be away from your kids at night, and they're young. So I didn't do it while I had small children, and this was the first occasion I had. I mean, I couldn't say no to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this was getting to do it at the Public. I live nearby, and Kate Worski was directing it, and she's someone I think is an incredible director. And Lynn Nottage, and this play, I just felt like it was everything I wanted, and it was. So the experience I had, I felt really fulfilled by that experience, and I was sad not to go with my cast to Broadway, but I was glad with the experience I had. So and I couldn't have asked for a better play to do during the election to get me through that time. To remind me how to connect to people who are very different than myself, because it's a time when people feel like they really want to disconnect from each other right now, because there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of hatred going around, and I feel like anything that helps you find a way to connect with people is valuable, and it was really a good way to do that. And Lynn Nottage, she's no slouch. She won, not the one, just the two Pulitzers. Just the pair. You want a pair, really. I feel like,
if you don't have a pair, what's the
point?
point?
Just to have the one, right?
Seriously.
You got to have a pair.
So, Younger, let's talk about it. Just for people who are listening, which is everybody, and not seeing you right now. You don't look the same as you do when you're playing.
And beat to dubs, I don't look like what I normally look like either, because I have makeup on. I normally walk around just like in whatever's on my floor, covered in whatever my kids threw on it, and just like schlumping around. I don't care.
So when you're walking through the streets, you're not like emanating Diana Trout.
If you can envision the opposite, as far from Diana Trout as the same person could look, that's what I look like.
So your hair is looser now. I know you're saying that's like every day, and you just, you look like a regular person.
Yes.
A beautiful regular person, but not so much that publishing exec.
Nope. There's not an iota of glamour in my actual life.
Do people recognize you?
Occasionally, and I'm astonished because I'm like, wow, that is some sleuthing there. That you figured it out was me.
Yes,
so I
would be surprised too, I think.
Yeah.
And do they think they just know you from somewhere, or they know exactly where they know you from?
That happens, but no, some people will come up and be like, hi, I'm Younger, and you're like, wow. Okay.
So what happens when you're on set and you're getting into Diana's like wardrobe, which is very like, I don't know, how would you describe it?
It's aggressively glamorous.
Okay. Yes, and with like these accessories that
are like armor.
Yes. They're big.
Yes.
And they're definitely statement pieces.
Oh yeah, statement, like the loudest statement. They're like screaming.
Right. Yeah. And then your hair is just so in that like.
Yeah, she's put together.
She's put together.
What I'm saying is that I'm not put together.
So when you start getting this stuff on, do you sort of transform in that moment?
You. Well, anybody knows that when they dress up for an occasion, you feel different. You sort of carry yourself differently, and that it all helps make who this person is. It's great. It's like a tool that you can use. It's my favorite thing.
It's so interesting to me just watching you and your facial expressions and everything. I mean, it's really, I can see that there's like a theater actor in you.
It's heightened.
It's heightened.
Yeah.
But it's so entertaining. Like, just to see you almost don't even have to say anything. And you just know you're thinking something, and it's so much fun to watch.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, what I love is that I don't shy away from making her a dramatic person, because as soon as you think, well, people aren't like, that's not true. It's just not true. Like, people are like anything you can think up and weirder.
Sure, yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But you do want to be honest, you know, you want to be real within that, but you also want to honor what they've written, the character that they've written, and she's a dramatic person. She likes that, you know? She's forceful. She's not a shrinking violet.
No, she's not a shrinking violet at all. She's likable.
She is, because I think you see her humanity under there. They've let you see it at this point, and you know that part of what she's doing is armor.
Yes. You know? So you don't think they let us as viewers see it at the beginning?
It took a while, but the first season you did. You eventually saw it. At first you thought she was just going to be the bitch that you thought she was going to be, and I think they let you see that there's more to her.
I also feel like it's at the point now where you can almost take that whole premise out, where the premise doesn't even matter as much anymore.
They've moved past the secret,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Except I guess the ultimate secret, or the secret, is still very important on the whole romantic side.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a part of the story, but it's not what I think really draws people to the show.
What do you think draws
I think
people?
It's the characters. I think that they've created these great characters, and now we all have a relationship with each other, and it's just good writing and good character writing, and you know, you want to hang out with these people now, you know, and see what happens next.
And have you learned anything on the show? Like, because there's a lot of youthful stuff on there that, like,
I mean, and look, I'm not on any social media, none. So those moments where Diana seems a little flummoxed by it, people are like, "Is that realistic?" In this, I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." I have never tweeted, never sent a twat or whatever you want to call it. I've never been on Instagram. And you know, Diana has, so Diana knows more about it than I do.
Yes. So what is this? By choice?
Yeah.
By accident?
No, by choice. I'm not drawn to it. I don't think there's anything wrong with if you're drawn to it. I think there's something wrong if that's where you only live. But I kind of like to live in the actual world and talk to my friends in person and who are actually my friends, and when I like something, you know it because I say, "Hey, I like that." You know what I mean? As opposed to some
actually instead of a
a little drawing of a thumb. You know, so that's just me. You know.
But have you had pressure from certain people?
Yes, I have.
So what? Like,
yes, no, the industry
publicists,
now. Sure,
agents?
The industry now is absolutely about social media, and you can make a career because of social media. And so it might not be the smartest career move to not be on social media, but it's just sort of who I am. You know, it's not how I express myself, and it's not how I view the world. And I don't want to be left behind, because I know it's kind of the direction the world's going in, but I have 2 young girls, and they're getting older. So obviously I will have to partake in it.
You're going to learn
on
sooner
some
or
level
later.
And stalk them. And, you know, and then I'll be the mom stalker, and I'll learn all about it then.
I actually think you would be I'm not a big social media person, but I actually think you would be very good on it because you're quick and you have these like, what are they? Like, what's the word I'm looking for? These like
one-liners.
Quips or whatever, one-liners. Sure. Like, I think you would be hilarious, actually.
But I live my life a little bit longer than 140 characters. So, you know, I don't like to be, and also like, I'm just a little lazy about it. And then on top of that, like I don't need it. Like when someone's like, "Well, don't you want to share that?" I'm like, "Well, why? They can live their lives without knowing what I had for breakfast. It was really good. I liked it, and that's enough for me." You know what I mean?
But I'm interested in the fact that so many people, I'm sure, in the industry have said you've got to be on social media, and you have been able to say, "I don't want to be," and just that's how it is.
I'm a little bit older. I'm a different generation. I think if I was in my early 20s, it would be rough, because that generation really does communicate in that world, and more and more this industry is using that, and there are people who get cast because they have more Twitter followers than the other person.
Yeah, that's crazy though.
Yeah, but it's all, you know, the reason for casting people has never been straightforward because of talent. Let's watch television and we know, you know, I mean, that's just not how it's been. So there's just one more thing they throw into the mix.
Yes.
And if it can help you, I get why people are like, "Oh, you should do it because it can help you." I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Is your husband on social?
No.
So neither of you are. It's such a clean life you're living. Good for
It doesn't mean we aren't addicted to our phones, because we fully are addicted.
Well, what are you doing on your phones?
You know, I don't even know. Those phones, Apple, They're onto something.
Yeah, well, I think I saw something recently on 60 Minutes or something where some guy an insider from Silicon Valley was saying that like they definitely study the brain for like addictive types of things, and when you scroll through things, it's almost like a slot machine almost, where you see.
Well, there's a dopamine release when you get an email. There's a dopamine release when you get a text that is addictive, and much like a gambling. Yeah, but it's interesting. There's a lot of literature that deals with it too. There's shout out to Dave Eggers and The Circle, if you've read that book.
I did read that book.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah. I had mixed feelings about that book.
Look, he
The Circle.
He really got what we are giving up by unknowingly unwittingly, and with our eyes kind of too focused on our phones to really see what we're doing, jumping into that world. And I thought that was great. And then also, there's other books. What is it? God, I'm going to mess up the title, and I love it, and it won a Pulitzer Prize. Goon Squad, Enter the Goon Squad? Is that what it's? Jesus, please, I apologize to the writer for this because it was a brilliant piece of work, and there's a part of it where they talk about everything is kind of being geared towards just 2-year-olds and what they can point to and how easily they can. So now if we just put all entertainment into that box, and you're like, well, aren't some of us more mature than that? Can't we move beyond that? But just the way that we clue into what we're interested in, that it needs to be so immediate, and just like what a 2-year-old, but we can be more complicated than that. But boy, there's something there that hooks you. I'll be holding onto my phone and be like, why it's so comfortable in my hand, I can't let it go.
Yeah, it's probably the weight. They know exactly how much to make it too.
Yes, and then my kids see how, and they want to see the phone, and I'm like, I gotta put it down if I want them to put it down when they have a phone someday when they're 29.
That's totally true. And even when they're 29.
I'm not giving it to them anytime soon.
Even if you're reading, like you could be reading a book on your phone, or you could be reading the Times on your phone.
I read the Times on my phone all the time.
And I'm doing that, and I'm also aware of the fact that like my little one is watching me on the phone, but like he doesn't know that I'm just reading.
The newspaper.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I do miss I miss the feeling of the New York Times when I would, but I want to save a tree, so there's also a good reason for it. But I miss like just having the crossword puzzle there, and just,
crossword puzzles, yes. I used to feel that way about the print paper too, but then at a certain point I just dumped it, and I love not having the print. I don't want to recycle the papers every day. I don't want to have to deal with it. I don't want the print all over my fingers.
Here's the thing about, I noticed too, which is the way that we curate our lives now, which I think is great, but I also think is dangerous, because I feel, and one of the reasons I love to live in New York is that I think you can have accidental experiences, which I feel like is what I want. And when you curate your life, you cut out accidental experiences, and you cut out spontaneity in a certain way that I feel like you lose something really valuable. And so there was something about rifling through the paper that I would find an article that I might not be able to find scrolling through the front page, in the same way. And I've noticed that I miss that. I'm like,
oh, that's interesting, yes.
I'm like, I know there's articles that I'm not getting, in the same way, and it's the one reason I haven't given up cable. But cable companies take note because it's too expensive. I'm ready to cut that cable.
Yeah, except what?
I like to scroll through and accidentally.
So you take the remote and.
I still accidentally be, oh, wow, look at this movie. I didn't know this was on. Or, whoa, what's this show? Oh my God, what's that? You don't happen upon things.
Yeah, it's hard to happen upon something in Netflix.
It is. I mean, look, you could just blindly play, like, spin the bottle and wherever it points at, you could watch, and it would probably be amazing. But there's something about, I feel like I'm missing something. And I always feel that I have a problem with that. Like, I'm last to leave a party. I have trouble going to bed at night because I don't want to miss things,
Oh, so you have FOMO.
What's that?
It's fear of missing out.
Oh my God!
It's a thing, and you're like,
I have FOMO!
You have a serious case of
final
FOMO.
Diagnosis.
You're welcome.
It's like when you have irritable bowel syndrome and you finally get diagnosed. It really feels good. Oh my God, FOMO.
Now
but
you
know what? I feel like that's a second child thing. When you're a younger sister, right? And you're always kind of chasing after that. Like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys? Well, I got to go to bed earlier. What are you guys going to do?
So when you're going to sleep, or you should be going to sleep, you're thinking about, wait, there might be something good on TV?
I don't know. There's something in me that keeps me up. It doesn't even need to be TV. There's something in me that's like, I don't want to. Is there something in this day that I missed?
And you're always the last one to leave a party?
Oh, it's tough. My husband, he does this awesomely subtle thing where he just gives a nice, gentle back rub. It's just, and I feel the gentle back rub at a party, and I'm like, oh, this is my cue to go. But there's still people here. What if something interesting? What if I miss? There's a thing that something really important could happen. This doesn't. Things don't. It's a party. Everybody leaves. That's what happens.
Yeah, that is what happens. And usually at the very end, like,
I'm getting older now and being like, and realizing like, yeah, I'll see something tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So I feel that, but there's still the urge in me.
So interesting. FOMO. FOMO peaking.
FOMO.
What do you watch?
Okay. Well, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. Obsessed. Read all the books. Total nerd. A little disappointed that we don't have another book. I mean, I don't want to pressure. It's only 1,000 pages to write, but Handmaid's Tale literally changed my perspective on the world. I know that sounds ridiculous to say that about a TV show, but I had a moment watching it, an epiphany watching it, where it just pointed to the place of privilege that I'm watching the show from, that I could look at it and think it was a futuristic show, when it is in fact things like that are happening in the world, maybe not to privilege white people, and things like that have always happened in the world throughout history. If you look at the history of mankind, it is something you have to constantly fight against, right? And so it's so beautifully written, so beautifully shot, so beautifully acted, that I could literally look at the world through a lens that it showed me and learn something. And I was like, whoa, television is blowing up. I love, there's so many things. Master of None, I love
Master
Fleabag.
of None.
She's
Fleabag,
genius.
yeah.
She's a genius.
Phoebe.
Oh, good God. And
Somebody.
then Atlanta. I loved The Get Down. I went crazy for The Get Down. It's gone, and R.I.P. That was everything to me. It's so exciting if you watch it.
So it had one season then, right?
Yeah. Felt a connection to it because they only had one season. I was like, I wasn't even on it, and it was killed. But it was really beautifully done. The acting on it is amazing. What else do we watch? I mean, so many things. I mean, Transparent, which Molly Bernard, who is on Younger, is also on Transparent.
Oh, that's right. She's in the flashbacks, right?
How cool is that? Black Mirror, which also...
Oh, I was going to say Black Mirror, when you were talking about something before about social media, I think the first episode of Black Mirror was so creepy with all the likes and everything. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know the one with Bryce Howard.
Yes, from Happy Valley?
She is...
No, who's the guy from Happy Valley?
Oh, I'm
talking about the boyfriend. He was hardly in it.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Did you love Happy Valley, too?
Where
is the next season?
First of all, the two actresses, the main actress and the woman who plays her sister, everybody on that show, but the acting on that show is mind-blowing.
Agreed.
And you get to see writing and acting now, because there's so many platforms on television. You get to see things that are art, that are a new way to really tell stories, which is, what I do and what I value so much about what I do. And people are killing it right now. And people are being allowed to, in a way that they weren't. They were being,
she is such a hero to me. Like I forget her name, the actress
detective. Yeah. See, this is where you see my brain no longer works.
Right.
I don't retain information.
About
I love my children. I don't have a clue what their names are, but they're wonderful. I don't remember anyone's name.
Yes, it's the proper name. My friend Heather told me this recently. She said, yes, this is when you reach 40. I don't want to give anyone's age away, but when you reach 40, you have this, it's like proper name loss syndrome or something. She made it up, or somebody did.
No, but it's
proper
real.
names, you can't get them anymore.
But I remember what kind of pasta you like. I'll remember that you're a warm, lovely person. I just don't know your name. Please tell me again.
Quiz, what's my name?
Yeah, literally.
Gotcha.
Shit. God damn, what's my name? Oh, no, you studied it.
Got it.
Oh,
Miriam. So there. It's Kara.
God damn it. Literally. I will meet someone and instantly be like, oh shit, I can't ask their name again. I just forgot it upon meeting them. And I do the thing where I repeat it.
Yeah, they say like 3 times or something, it's yours, but I don't really believe
but then you
that's
sound like a
true.
psychopath. Hi, Kara. It's nice to meet you, Kara.
Yeah.
Kara? Great, Kara. You would be like, wow, that woman's out of her mind.
I don't know about repeating. Maybe you need to just sort of picture like the word over the person's head or something. Did you see The Office? There's that one episode where Steve Carell. Did you watch The Office?
I watched the British Office, and then I had a big old fucking chip on my shoulder, and I was wrong because it's hilarious.
Oh God,
I was wrong. The American one is hilarious.
The American one is hilarious, and so Steve Carell had this thing. He was the boss, as most people know.
Yeah, I've seen episode 6. Yes.
Right. So he's trying to remember everybody's name. So he was teaching everyone in the office this method to remember everyone's name. I shouldn't even be saying it because
now you can't remember it.
No, because I'm not a storyteller, and it's so much funnier by them than it would be by me. But it's like he has this way of going. He tells everybody, okay, this is how I remember everyone's name: mole, bald, fat, or whatever. Like,
no, but see, I don't have a problem remembering mold, bald, fat. I'd be like, oh, did you see mold, bald, fat? He's over here. But it's the name. Names are random. Mm-hmm. Right? Names,
unless they really fit
You're
someone.
given to a name before you're formed human. Mm-hmm. So they don't necessarily fit who you are, you know?
So I'm going to give you another show to watch, Baskets, if you don't already.
Oh, well, I love Zach.
Do you like it?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so if you love Zach, please watch it. And I have to tell you that Louis Anderson.
Oh, I heard he's amazing.
Oh my God. I can't, every time I have to be like, I can't, I'm shouting out to people, to everybody in my house is like,
all right, Baskets.
I'm like, oh, I can't take it, Christine.
Baskets. I did just see an ad for a movie called The Mayor, a TV show called The Mayor, that David, who is in Hamilton,
David Diggs.
I think he created it, or he's one of the producers. And when I saw it, I only saw a clip of it, and I thought, this is great. This is what I want to be watching right now. But I have a bias now against network television.
Yeah, well,
I'm like, I don't believe it's going to be good if it's on network television.
Right.
I got a chip on my shoulder. I'm like, show me you can deliver the goods, guys.
So what's the last good one that you've seen on network? Was it years ago?
Cheers was really good. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I watch network television anymore.
Oh, you know what? How about that show This Is Us? Because I'm ready to share my opinion if you have heard anything about it.
Here's the thing about This Is Us. It doesn't feel like us to me. But people love it, and I haven't really watched it. But it feels contrived. It feels like I can feel other people's hands manipulating. And that's my problem. I don't feel a singular voice. It doesn't mean it's not. So many people responded to it. I'm happy to be wrong. Like, I know that my opinion isn't the shit. Other people have opinions, and they, are just as valuable. But to me, I like when I feel like I can hear a singular voice coming at me, telling me a story. And my problem with network television is that I hear the network notes.
So there are too many.
I hear
cooks
network
in the
notes.
kitchen.
I see them. I can see it. And the person who created the show doesn't want to adopt those network notes. They have to.
They have no choice.
Yeah, and like our show, I feel like TV Land is like, go for it, Darren. And I feel like the shows I really respond to are, you can tell either that person is like, fuck you, I'm not taking your note, or they just are given the chance to just have their voice, and that's where when I respond to it, So, that's where I'm skeptical of television. But when I saw this clip and I saw who the producer was, I was like, I'm gonna check it out.
Which one?
It's The Mayor.
Oh, The Mayor. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So when does that come out in the fall?
I have no idea. I just saw a clip for it today, and I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, okay, so we'll look for that.
Yeah, but there's so much right now that I feel like it's not just entertainment.
All right, I have a few quick questions, and then we're going to wrap up because I think you have other things that you need to do today.
I'm going to stay here.
Please do.
I thought we were moving in.
Yeah, that's right. We're moving in, not just staying overnight.
No, our pad is amazing.
And have you seen all the bedrooms so we can all actually
We're going to reinvent
be
our lives just like on Younger, live like we're 20, which means that I get to sleep until 1.
Okay, so your weirdest gig ever can be acting or anything.
Okay, it wasn't a gig, it was an audition. Can I do that?
Yep.
Okay. I had an audition with Twyla Tharp. I'm not a dancer, I should preface. Terrible dancer. I had an audition for Twyla Tharp for a Bob Dylan musical. Yeah, that's right. And Twyla was like, why don't you come to my house and dance in my living room, which is also a dance studio, with the head male dancer from ABT, American Ballet Theater, while I choreograph you, screaming at you, and only in French. I could not stop laughing. And I feel that Twyla didn't appreciate, she didn't see the humor in my ineptitude. But give me a break. I'm like singing a Bob Dylan song, dancing with the head male. I'm not a dancer, while Twyla Tharp is screaming at me in French. And I just remember being like, clearly I'm not getting this, but this is a really good story, so I'm going to continue as long as Twyla allows me to, before she kicks me out.
There is still value in this experience.
Earlier in the day, I had sung duets of Bob Dylan songs with Willem Dafoe. So, that was an interesting...
Oh, just a light
day. It was
day.
an interesting day. It was a day where I was like, you know what, I couldn't have gotten this in an office.
No.
This
That's
wouldn't happen to me in an
office.
office.
A little different.
So that was fun.
Okay.
I also did Fiddler on the Roof at the Aladdin, which to me says a lot in Vegas. To me says a lot about the Middle East and relations between... If we could do Fiddler at the Aladdin Casino, which is now defunct, which is a Arabian Nights themed, can we all not get along? It's just a question.
If Diana Trout could have a crossover on another show that's currently on,
wow,
where would you put her?
Game of Thrones. Is that wrong? It feels right. It's just because she wears armor.
If it feels right to you, it is right.
Imagine her
Let the
coming
writers
in
take note.
and just being like, listen, Cersei, I have some branding notes. Anyway, go ahead.
If you could land permanently on a series that's on right now, which one would you choose?
Oh, man. Me as an actor or Diana?
As an actor.
Oh, I mean, it's tough because Game of Thrones is so wonderful, and you would get to go to all different parts of the world. Also, you get to play with dragons. It's fun. But and Handmaid's Tale, it looks amazing. I don't know how easy a day's work that is. I go to work and laugh all day.
Yeah.
And as an artist, I respond to Handmaid's Tale, but then I think about, as a person, how difficult those women... I mean, I'm sure they have a great time.
Right, I'm sure there are some funny moments when like
sure.
they're laying the woman at the bottom of the bed or
Right.
whatever. No. At behind, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
yes. I mean, that moment, I'm just like, how do you do that more than once and not just be like, nope, no,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
That's that.
Please put me on a sitcom. But I do want to call it, because I'm from Detroit, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Detroiters.
I've never even heard
Oh
of the show.
my God, it's so funny. And not just because I'm from Detroit, but recently I was like, who do I have to call? I'm from Detroit. Let me get, that is one of the funniest shows.
Well, I'm gonna watch that. I've never
Oh my
heard
God,
of it.
it's so funny.
Okay, Detroiters,
Yeah.
make note. What is your strangest habit?
I don't know if I have any strange habits.
Come on.
I really don't. I mean, I'm strange, just all around. I'm just a weirdo. A strange habit. Oh, everything becomes a song.
Okay.
But that's kind of common, isn't it?
Maybe for an actor,
performers?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
sing. I sing things.
What are you obsessed with,
Food, always.
specifically?
Oh, God, cheese. Yeah. Food in general, I really love food. Chocolate, but cheese. The other day I was like, if someone told me I couldn't have cheese again, I don't think I'd make it.
Yeah, cheese. What's your favorite?
Fresh mozzarella, burrata. I don't have the ability, if burrata's on the menu, to not order it. Even if I don't want it, I just get it for the table, even if I'm alone. I'll be like, and the burrata for the table. And they're like, ma'am, you're alone. Please don't judge, just get me the fucking cheese, okay?
So you don't cook ever?
It's not that I don't cook ever. It's just that I always order out. No, I don't love cooking.
Fair enough.
I love eating, and I live by so many great restaurants that make it
What's
better
the
than I
point?
do.
Yeah.
That said, I have kids I have to cook for them, and I do, and I can make some good things. I make a mean breakfast. I can come up with some good egg dishes. I'm proud of my breakfast. I love breakfast, so I make some good stuff that way, and I make good pastas. I can come up with great pastas, but not a great. It's not my forte.
Yeah.
Eating is my forte.
Yeah, and well, that's like that's a natural instinct.
Enjoying food, enjoying a meal, not just eating. Like enjoying a meal. This is what I
Experiencing
think
it.
Italy comes out.
Oh,
in
that's
me,
Italy right
is
there.
that I know how to sit and enjoy a meal. And I want company. I want to share that.
That's Italy speaking.
So much so that I want strangers to eat my food, and I have absolutely eaten food off of strangers' tables. 100% that has
At
happened.
restaurants?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Very fancy restaurants too. I'm not even kidding.
That's a strange habit.
It is strange.
That
It
qualifies.
Is it strange or is it gross? That's really the
I'm just gonna call it strange. One more question. Two-parter.
Okay.
Who do people think you are? What's the image they have, the perception?
No, question I ask myself and my friends, and I don't know. I hope they think I'm someone who is nice. And I know nice gets a bad rap, and that's bullshit, because nice is everything. And not nice on the surface. I mean, really just, it's a tough world. Let's be nice. Let's be good to each other. Kind of nice. I feel like I want people to enjoy working with me and enjoy being with me, and that's something when I work that I think is important. There's a lot of bad behavior in everywhere. All right, in the fucking Oval Office, there's bad behavior. So there's a lot of bad behavior in Hollywood. I don't understand it. Like, I feel like you should care about everyone who's working with you and be nice. Doesn't mean don't be truthful, but be good to each other, I know it sounds so vanilla pudding, but it matters, I think. I would rather someone say I'm a good person than a good actor.
Who are you really, the essential you?
I'm an asshole. No, I'm kidding. Which is why I want people to think I'm nice about it. No, I'm kidding. Such an
why you're
asshole.
trying so hard right now.
I don't know. I think I don't know. It's just, it's more than just one word. I hope that, I'm someone who, I really like people. I think that's why I do what I do, because I have to be around other people. I like experiences. I like getting to know people. I want to know who they are just as much as I want to say who I am. So I don't know. I hope I'm curious and good-hearted, and that's important to me. Just a good person. So vanilla pudding.
You are so vanilla pudding.
Hardly vanilla pudding.
We talked about a lot of philosophies about life.
That's right.
You were asking me about, and that actually reminds me that I'm always like, why does anyone give a shit what I think about life? Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, like, I'm always curious. And when people, and then I listen to a podcast and I'll be like, oh my God, tell me more. And I'm like, oh, I guess we just want to hear what each other thinks.
It is interesting, I think, for everybody to hear not the superficial stuff, but to hear who you really are and what you think about life.
Yeah, I mean, I started asking myself, like, why do we have all these podcasts now that we all are so into? Like, what is it?
The antidote for social media.
For feeling disconnected.
And superficial.
Yeah, which we're not.
At least we're not. I don't know about everybody else.
We are so real.
Thanks for listening to Really Famous. I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast. Whatever app you're using, click the subscribe button, and that way you'll get every new episode. If you like this podcast, it would be great if you rate and review it on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening. Definitely follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Kara121. And check out reallyfamouspodcast.com. There's lots of bonus features, links, photos, you name it. Thanks again for listening. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and this is Really Famous.